Mic check, good. So I'm Max Ceron. Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron, and today we have a very special guest, Luis Varela-Rico, here on the show. You may have heard his name, you may not, but you should have, because he's got some crazy art out there, and he's out in Vegas. It looks like having a good time. Luis, ¿cómo estás?
Bien. What's up? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. We were chitting, we were talking probably 15 minutes before I even hit record. We let all the juicy stuff out, but you're telling me about how nice it is in Las Vegas right now, and I'm sitting here in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. We're sitting at -6 right now today. I'm gonna punch that into my Google because we were Googling. We'll see what -6 is in Fahrenheit. That's 21 degrees Fahrenheit right now where I am.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'd be suffering, man. I'd probably already lost a couple toes by now.
But we're built different here. Like, I'm not saying like we like humans, because I'm Latino, so I don't like the cold very much. But like the houses are built different. Like the walls are like thick and full of insulation, and we have like heat everywhere. We plug our cars in, and start the car before you even get out there, so it's already warm before you get in. So it's okay, man. You gotta come up.
Imagine, I'm down, but I imagine you guys have heated floors and stuff too, or.
Well, if you're rich, so no, not me. No. Rich people got that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, not even gonna lie, I got slippers on. My fuzzy chanclas here. They're gonna keep my feet warm. So Luis, you're in Vegas. Were you born in Vegas? Is that your hometown? Like, where were you born?
I was born in Guadalajara, Mexico. So yeah, I was born in Mexico, man, and I came over when I was about 5. So I am from Mexico, but I identify with being from the United States because I was raised here, did all my schooling here. So yeah.
Yeah, and so like when you came to the United States from Mexico at 5, did you come with like your family, like mom and dad? Was there brothers and sisters, or was it a extended family? Did you have aunts and uncles and stuff like that?
Yeah, I came. So my grandmother came originally, and then back in the day, and don't quote me on this because this definitely has changed now, but you could get in the United States and sponsor family members.
Mm-hmm.
And so my grandmother got in, and she sponsored all of her kids. So I came eventually with my mom, and yes, all my uncles and aunts also came, except for one stayed back. So yeah, came with my mom and the rest of my family, essentially one by one.
So you got a pretty good extended family there. That's nice.
Yeah, we do. My mom has 6 siblings. So
then when you got there, I mean, you're 5 years old. That's a pretty tough age to be moving, man. Like, I'd imagine at that point, as a 5-year-old, you probably spoke mainly just Spanish. And you get to Vegas. Is that where you guys initially went to, right from Mexico?
No, we went to LA. We went to this place south of LA called Whittier.
Okay, so there's much more Spanish-speaking community in South LA. Was the community you went to, did it have a lot of Latinos in it?
Absolutely, and obviously there still is down in Southern California, in the Southwest, generally speaking, in the United States. The Southwest is filled with Latinos, but it wasn't. I don't remember it really being hard. I just remembered, like, all of a sudden I was like speaking English because I as a child you want to fit in. I guess at least that's my perception, is that I wanted to fit in so badly that I picked up English really quick. And as everyone knows, young people are really they can pick up new languages pretty fast. So I think within the first year of being there, I was pretty fluent, or I'd picked up a lot of English. I mean, so much so that I remember going to kindergarten and already like rocking English.
Yeah.
So
and that's interesting because I came to Canada younger than you. Spanish is my first language, but it took me a little bit longer. You're probably just smarter than I am, but it took me a little bit longer to get Spanish. And I I shed my accent. It took a long time, but my parents are still very thick accents, and even my sister, who's younger than me, sometimes has an accent. And
Yeah,
everyone learns differently. Like people that came to Canada at the same time, my age, some of them speak no Spanish, like it's
right.
gone, and
Yeah.
some are fluent still. Like it's hard to say.
I think, well, my experience was my mother ended up marrying an American, and so I was raised speaking English. And I have a
Hmm.
cousin that's same age as me, and she stayed back in California after we moved to Las Vegas, and she was around my mom's side of the family, who's primarily spoke Spanish the whole time. So her
Hmm.
Spanish is a lot better than mine, but she actually was able to shed her accent pretty quickly too. She got the best of both worlds, where I didn't get to practice my Spanish that much, so it's not as good as hers. I can definitely hold my own, and if I go to any of the Spanish speaking countries, but there is a difference. So yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about Spanglish and how it just
Hmm.
becomes like a mix. You're like, I don't know the word in Spanish, so I'll say it in English, or I don't know the word in English, I'll say it in Spanish. Just like kind of
Yeah.
throw them around. Yeah.
Yeah. It also depends who you're talking to. Spanglish works for some people, but it doesn't work for others. So yeah.
So, you get to LA. How long were you in LA before you guys moved out of there?
I think we were there like a year. So, and I'm not really good with all that. Maybe I was like four-ish when I moved, because I know that I did do kindergarten starting in Vegas.
Hmm.
So we transitioned quickly. We moved to Vegas. My mom ended up meeting my stepfather, and they decided that they were going to get married and move to Vegas. And I was in kindergarten, so uh,
Okay.
it was a pretty quick transition. So I
And why
never.
Vegas?
He
Why
was
just
from
work
he
wise?
was from he was from Long Beach, and I think he was kind of tired of the California thing, and was like, let's go to Vegas." And I think that mentality is still kind of prevalent now. We have a lot of people that move to Las Vegas that come from California because the housing market, and they're able to sell their house there and come pretty much
Hmm.
by cash, houses for cash here in Vegas. And it's just a different vibe over here,
Yeah, and
politically
it's
and all that.
interesting. People outside of Vegas seem to think that Vegas is this huge city, and it's really not that big of a city. Like it's kind of almost like a small town vibe, except for the strip, which has got like it's like crazy world, right? But like the like Las Vegas, the city, it's got much more of a chill vibe than I think people realize. You know what I mean?
So you've
And
been there?
yeah, I've been to Vegas a couple times,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
like and you're close. You can still get out to the beach in what, an hour and a half. You can hit the beach if you hit the highway. Like,
From Vegas?
yeah.
From Vegas, we're 3.5 to LA.
Is that what it
So
is? Okay, so you're
it's
three and a half.
kinda
So
half.
it's still a day. Yeah, you can
It's not
make
too
it.
far. But what you're saying is right. Vegas is, I mean, it's a pretty big city now. It's grown tremendously and it continues to grow. But we are kind of like bordered. We're surrounded by mountain ranges. So
Hmm.
we can't grow too much more. I mean, they're still finding places to build homes. But so yeah, the thing about Vegas is like everyone pretty much knows everyone. We're connected, by like maybe one or two people.
Hmm.
Everyone pretty much knows each other. But you're right, the strip that's a whole nother monster, because you get people coming in from all over the world, and just wanting to freaking rage and throw down. Are
So,
you even are you allowed to come to Vegas, or how did you behave while you were here?
so here's the thing. So I don't gamble. I'm not a gambler. You're right. I
Um,
just it's not my thing. I grew up pretty poor, so it's like I don't get gambling. It's like, man, I worked hard for this money. I'm just gonna like s- throw it in the stupid machine. I'd rather actually just buy booze and drink it than just throw it away or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I've been to Vegas to party. I had a good time partying, but I'm too, I guess, maybe cheap as well. So it's like, hey, let's get over here. Is okay, yeah, it's like $18 a beer. Like, yo, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like, no, like, and then so what we ended up doing is we just like left the strip and then like found some like blues bar like 3 blocks from the strip in some like kind of shadier part of town, but it was like $2 beers, and man, there was some local band playing where everyone knew the people on the stage, and we had a way better time than some
Yeah.
crazy. So that's just my vibe. The lights and the flashing and the madness. I just see people being rude and ignorant and making a mess, and entitled and throwing cash around like they're the big king of whatever.
Mhm.
And that's just, and I shouldn't, I hope people don't think that I'm dissing Vegas, because I get going to the strip, and I totally get that vibe. It could be a lot of fun, especially for you. Like, I see young people just loving it.
Mhm.
That's just not my thing. I prefer like the local bar with like the locals having drinks and just chilling out, and that's just more my scene, right? So I don't
Yeah,
know.
and that's what real Vegas is. The strip is it's not real Vegas. People come there to live out their fantasies and act like someone who they're not. And that's just our industry here, and it works out for us. I definitely I can't say anything bad about it because it's sustained me this whole time. But yeah, when you get off the strip, you have places like downtown East and the Arts District, which are all in downtown, and they have exactly what you were saying. That more kind of intimate, laid back vibe where you can get craft beers and listen to local musicians and it's not expensive. So yeah, we have the strip is such a small part of Vegas. Everyone just thinks Vegas is the strip, but there's an entire city that surrounds the strip that has all different types of things going on.
Yeah. Now, when you, as a kid growing up in Vegas, now, what was like the area you grew up in? Was it like middle class? What kind of what
We grew
was
I grew up on the east side of town, which it wasn't like the high end by any means. I'd say we were like lower middle class. I went to normal high school, normal middle school. Just grew up doing normal things, riding skateboards, BMX, lighting shit on fire,
Mhm.
getting in trouble. But yeah, it was pretty normal, I think. Although now that I have friends from all over the place, we talk about our childhoods, and I realize how different it is growing up in different places. Like, I have a friend from Cleveland, and some of the stuff he tells me that he went through as a child, I'm just like holy shit, man. Like, I didn't see cops until like I was like late teenager. You know what I mean? Like, you had interaction with the cops like when you were kids, and just crazy stuff.
Well,
But
Cleveland's a pretty rough town.
yeah. So
I've been there
so
a couple times. I
yeah.
have a lot of fun in Cleveland. I'm a sports guy. So Cleveland is a great sports town. Browns is my team, and you
Mhm.
can go basketball, you can go baseball, you can go like you got Columbus there for hockey. You got
Yeah.
everything in Cleveland, but it's you got to watch yourself, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to be careful. Yeah, I could
Yeah,
imagine. But yeah. So I would say, at least from what I would call normal, I think I had a pretty normal upbringing.
yeah. You got brothers and sisters.
I do have a younger brother and a younger sister. Yeah, I'm the oldest of the three.
Oh, so you
So
got all the trauma.
yeah, I got the trauma and the immigration process, and
Yeah,
we
I know that, brother. I'm talking from experience here, from
yeah,
one older brother to another older
yeah.
brother,
So
immigrant older brother.
yeah, 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 yeah. So what's up. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
there's definitely something different.
Yeah, there's a chip on your shoulder you're never gonna shed, man. It's just never gonna go away.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even pay attention to it anymore, man.
Yeah, you just get used to it.
Yeah,
Other people notice it more than you do. It's like, oh yeah, whatever, don't worry about it.
yeah, 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 yeah. You guys don't know what it's like.
Yeah. So you came out of high school. How'd you do in school? Good student, bad student?
Did all right. Could have done way better. In retrospect, I should have done better. But I was having fun, man. Not like too
Hmm.
much fun. I wasn't into like coke or like robbing houses or anything. But I wasn't really interested in school. The
Hmm.
only thing I was interested in and was art, man. And I was really excited about. I mean, I think when I only had 6 classes my senior year because I took a summer course so I could open up my schedule, and I was able to take 2 art classes my last year. So like my senior year was just like, I think it was like like 3 classes that I needed, like boring classes, and then the
Hmm.
rest was all art. It was ceramics and like just an art class. So I was really, I've always been into art. My family's into art. We have other artists and people that are into art in my family. So it's always been something that's been around, and it wasn't like pushed on me, but I took to it once it was introduced to me, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. But I also found engineering interesting. Like when we were in middle school, I remember this math teacher was showing us like what engineers do, and they were talking about like like making skateboard trucks, or this is how
Mm-hmm.
stuff gets designed. And I was like, that is way cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
I could totally get into that. So those are kind of like, that was kind of the beginning of like what has gotten me to where I'm at now, like interest like that.
So your art background, this is interesting for me because I've had a lot of Latinos on the show, and every, I'd say, area of the world kind of has a different approach on art. And I find that North America isn't real friendly to artists. It's like parents aren't like supportive of artists, kids being like, hey, yeah, dad, I want to be an artist when they're 9 years old. And they say, no, that's stupid. You're not going to make any money. Where I
Right.
find like in Latin American countries, it's like art is pretty well accepted because it's been like, I mean, you can have a great career being an artist, and I think that lots of Latinos are okay with artists in the family, or even proud of artists in the family. And
Right.
Europeans are very big into art. Russians, and so here in North America, you got a mixed family, so you got an American dad and a Mexican mom. Were they both equally supportive with you with your art desires, or did you see any difference there?
I think so. I think my mom more so than probably my stepfather, but he was into art too. He did drawings and stuff, and he showed me some of it. So like when I started doing stuff, I don't think I don't think it bugged them at all. But I will say that they
Hmm.
were busy. They were busy working, so they were just kind of like, hey, as long as you're not dead and you're not getting in trouble, like
That's good.
crank it up,
Yeah.
do whatever you got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, not to say that they weren't paying attention, but yeah, they definitely weren't like, don't waste your time with that shit. That's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Were you good at art, like in school? Were you good, or like? I mean, I could say I did a lot of art, but I'm terrible. Like, I mean, were you?
I think, I mean, it's interesting because, like my senior year, I think I can't even remember what they gave me some award for like most likely to succeed artistically, or like best artist or something like that. And they had my
Hmm.
picture up with like the real smart kids, and I was like, well, I get, and those types of experiences kind of help with your confidence. And I was
Hmm.
really into ceramics, and if I could go in there, like going back to those two classes that I had, that other the I had ceramics and like I can't remember, like a drawing class, and that in that drawing class, I would quickly do the assignments, and then that teacher would let me go back to ceramics. So I would spend like half my day in ceramics. So I would say yes to your question, that I felt I was at least different, or at least interested enough to where like I was unique, and people were kind of like, that dude's doing something different, or something cool. So I guess yes is the question, is the answer to your question.
And
Yeah.
you said you got other artists in the family. Anyone famous?
No, no one famous. I have an uncle that was into ceramics that kind of got me going. I looked up to him a lot. And then I have another uncle that owned a gallery in Guadalajara. So yeah, they've always played a role. And my mom actually she has her master's in anthropology. So she's super big into culture. So
History, yeah.
she's always been, you know, she didn't drag me to a lot of the events or anything, but anytime I want to like tap into any cultural stuff, I just hit my mom up and like, hey, what's going on in Vegas or whatever. She actually runs a Winchester Community Center here, which does a lot of cultural events and has a theater, and they do like the Japanese drum performances, folkloric dancing, all types of music, art. So yeah, she's super into it. So I was always around it.
That's awesome, man. Anthropology is so interesting. It's one of the electives I took when I was going to college that I was like, it almost pulled me in. I was like, that doesn't seem like a bad gig. Actually, I took Andy in anthropology. It was like I was like the one Latino kid in the class that like literally they're talking about my ancestors. I was like, I
That's me.
was
That's
like, that's
me.
me. That's me. That's like my great 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 granddad. That's what who are you talking about? Like.
Yeah, yeah. What was the culture down there? You had the Incans. The Incans?
Well, so I actually had my tribal shirt on yesterday because we had a Spanish show, but Mapuche. I'm from a Mapuche tribe is my
Oh,
peoples specifically,
okay.
but yeah, it was Incas and Maya down in the
Yeah,
south.
yeah,
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 so but the Mapuche tribe, which we're from, we're like high mountain tribe from south, like south.
yeah.
So actually, that's like our claim to fame is like we were never conquered. So the Incas and the Mayans, and even when the colonial Spanish showed up, we would retreat into the mountains, and they couldn't deal with the altitude and the cold. So we had it all figured out. So we were one of the last tribes left in South America to go down to colonialism. So it's something my family, my dad taught me that. His dad taught us, like something that we take pride in, like the Mapuche strong blood, you know.
Yeah, it is something to be proud about because a lot of bad stuff went on, especially through colonialism and yeah, like but I think all that history is really fascinating. Like can't remember the place in Mexico, but uh the cathedral that was built out of like an
The
old
pyramid
pyramid.
beneath it. I
Yeah,
went there. I went there when they were digging it up. So my ex-wife is Mexican. So I've been
okay.
to Mexico lots of times, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was there the year after they discovered, because they didn't even know that pyramid was underneath.
Yeah.
And
Oh, it's
the
underneath. I thought they deconstructed it and built
so
it with
parts of it. So
the
they took off like the whole top, like the tip of it, and then built the
Mhm.
cathedral on that. But there's still
Yeah,
more pyramid going down,
yeah.
right? So
Crazy.
the cathedral had started to sink. So they brought in these engineers to figure out how to lift it back up and straighten it out. And that's when they're like, hey, there's something under here.
There's more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a 4,000-year-old pyramid. Gee, what?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
crazy. Have you, like, I mean, I've been to the canals of Xochimilco,
Yeah,
and those are nuts. Like, she's
I've
from
never been.
Cuernavaca. I've been to Guadalajara, and
Yeah,
it's, Mexico's got crazy history.
yeah,
But it ended all very quickly. Like, within a couple hundred years,
yeah.
it was
Without
just destroyed.
explanation.
Yeah. Just
Well, it was probably because of plague, right? I think it was probably because of that.
plague and colonialism, they buried
Yeah,
most of it. Once they figured out, actually, I learned this in a class, that once the Aztecs figured out that the Spaniards were coming for the gold, they just started dumping it into rivers and lakes, just to being like, well, if we just get rid of all the gold, they'll leave us alone.
yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it, man?
Yeah, it is.
I've
Yeah,
been down.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, I've been down, and it's. I find that it informs a lot of what I'm doing now, and I've been down to the Yucatan Peninsula. I went to um, Chichen Itza, and
Hmm.
Chichen Itza was just it was mind blowing. It was an outstanding experience. I can't like we were there on a tour, so I didn't get to really get into it. But man, what I saw down there just blew me away. Like the knowledge of the skies that those people had, and then I went to Tulum, which when I researched online and I saw pictures of it, I was like, is that what we're doing now? Is that we're building like resorts that look like old, like old ruins? Because I thought that's how like beautiful it looked like it was almost fake. It was so beautiful, and then obviously it's not nothing new. It's something that's extremely old. So I was able to
Hmm.
go there, and if anyone that's listening to this doesn't know where Tulum is, look it up. Tulum is it's a ruin that's on a cliff on the Gulf of Mexico, and it is just one of the most picturesque places that I've ever seen and ever been to, and it's just in the history and all the knowledge that those people had is just absolutely amazing. So really cool.
Yeah, it's cyclical. We've lost more than we found.
Yeah,
That's what we always got to remember, is that the things that we come up with now, they've been thought of before, they've been done before. Maybe the tools weren't there to make it happen, but it's not like it was the first time someone had that dream.
yeah, and
Anyway, so we've gone on a crazy tangent here, man. I mean, we could talk for hours, but
yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah,
take a quick break here, and when we get back, we'll talk about your career, and how your history, your upbringing, your arts, and then your love of automation and computers, also kind of all turned into this conglomeration, which you call your life, right? So
sounds
we're
good.
going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back in 2 seconds. So make sure you don't go nowhere on the CWB Association podcast. I'm Max, and we're here with Luis. So hold on. And we're back here on the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron, and we got Lou here, who you may have seen on shows like Netflix's, what's it called? The Metal Shop Masters? Is that what it was?
Metal, metal shop bozos, metal shop
I,
mats. Yeah,
I just had that conversation with Frank, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to really talk about the show, because it's like he asked me before we started, are we going to talk about the show? I was like, yeah, I feel like it's probably been done. It probably gets done a lot. So I'm trying to like ask questions more about the experience than the actual show.
okay.
But let's just get back to the where we were in the timeline. You're coming out of high school now. You have obviously an affinity for the arts. It seems like where it's one of your passions was at that age. You know, you're a young teenager. What were you doing when you came out of high school? Like, what kind of job did you have? What kind of career path were you thinking, or were you just kind of fake it till you make it type of thing?
I wouldn't say fake it till you make it. I was just, yeah, I mean, I was just trying to survive, and
Hmm.
everyone was pushing me to go to college, and so I was going to community college and just randomly taking classes, you know, changing trajectories every other week. One week I wanted to be a X-ray tech. I was fighting that. Should I follow my passion, or should I just get like a real job kind of thing? But in the meanwhile, I was just kind of going through college, and the years are going by, and I was taking a ton of classes and learning a ton of stuff. But again, going back to high school, I was really excited about ceramics. And when I got out of high school, I had kind of a weird experience in ceramics in college, and I was kind of turned off by that experience. And during that time, I was simultaneously getting into cars, and that's where I kind of transitioned into metal. Like, cars are what got me into metal, and
Hmm.
then that was like during the time when, like, all the Jesse James and biker build off stuff was going on. And I
Hmm.
think that era in television really provoked and inspired a lot of people like me to get into metal, because it was just like, it was so fascinating, and just watching all that stuff on TV, it was just like, oh man, this is so cool. And I already loved cars. So at that time, I still have my bus. It's a 67 Volkswagen bus, but I was working on that, and I was like, I want to be better at all these skills, and I want to learn how to paint, I want to learn how to weld, I want to learn how to work on motors. And so the art was there, and then the change in trajectory was the cars, and that's what landed me where I'm at now. That's what got me into metal.
That's so interesting because like I'm a car nut. I've probably had, I don't know, over 40. I don't even know. I lost track a long time ago, but I started buying my first cars when I was like 14, fixing them up, ripping them out. I'd crash a lot of them. I learned to drive fast. And I always had a thing. It didn't have to be fast. I went for style too. Like I had old like 70s Lincolns and the New Yorkers, but then I had a couple fast Chevelles and Camaros and whatever, all that stuff. Through my life, I had cars and I loved working on cars. I work on buddies' cars. Then I started welding when I was 17 and I went to college for philosophy, but then I actually ended up becoming a welder because I had a kid, right?
Mm,
So I
mm,
had a kid young. I had to like get a real job, right, to make money to feed kids. So, okay, I'm going to go weld. I welded for years and I still had cars and buy and sell and I had my thing. I got so sick of working for like the man. I worked for this company for like 9 years and I was just like so depressed at life. And like by now I had two kids and what are you gonna do? And I
yeah,
just like, yeah, I decided to just like quit it all and start a company. I'm gonna start up my own fab shop. At least that's exciting. I think I can do it. I think I got the skills. I did that for like a couple years before someone was like, Max, you love cars. I've been watching you work on cars like your whole life. You have a fab shop where you're doing like fabrication for like companies and stuff. Have you ever thought about like maybe working on cars? And it was
yeah.
like how
Yeah,
dumb am I? Like how dumb am I? Why did I never like I guess I just thought there wasn't any money in it, right?
yeah,
So
cars
I,
are
I get
scary, man.
they
Cars
are,
are
there are. And
scary.
especially working on your cars is different than working on someone else's.
Right.
Right? When I walk towards my car that I bought with a 5-inch grinder in my hand and I'm about to cut something, off a perfectly fine vehicle or
Mhm.
rip the dash out because I got a dream about how I'm gonna fiberglass this new dash that's makes no sense. But if it's my car, I don't care. Right.
Right.
And if it's garbage, I'll throw it out and I'll try again. But
Right.
when
Yeah.
you have a customer who's like, I want to take this and I want to fit speakers in here and do that, and can you put a freaking screen here? And then you're like, yeah, I can do all that for sure. But then you got to actually like put up, and it's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
cutting apart somebody else's car. That's scary.
Exactly.
That's
It
scary.
is. It is, man. And I think that's why I never really got into. Yeah, I got a lot of people pull up to my shop saying, "Oh, hey, can you weld a whole new floor into my, my truck?" And I'm like, I probably could, man, but I don't want to do that type of work, because the pay usually isn't right for the
The
output.
effort, yeah.
Especially if you're like a no name guy that's working on cars. Like if you're like a famous builder, then you probably get paid well. But anyways, I identify with you because I had to leave my passion in college to get a real job, and I got an opportunity. I went from CSN, just kind of bouncing around. I think like I had like over 100 credits, and was like I over fulfilled the requisites for the prerequisites for my associate's degree, and I was ready to transfer to UNLV here in Vegas, and I did, and I got to UNLV, and their art program was kind of being sort of dismantled at the time. Like their ceramics department was being taken apart, and they were kind of like getting rid of the equipment, and it just I was really kind of not upset, but I was just like, oh man, I was moving to a big university, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
different. And at that time, I got an opportunity to get in the elevator trade, into the union. And a buddy of mine got in from high school, and he was telling me about it and telling me about the money and like all the crazy stuff they were doing. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go do that. I can continue to do art, whenever later. So I kind of
Yeah.
said, I actually I was thinking about transferring to school in LA, because for a while I really wanted to go back to LA, but I'm really glad I didn't do that. So it's worked out really well for me, and I've been in the trade since '07, and I've gained skills through working. Initially, I worked in construction, but I gained a lot of skills working through constructions in terms of moving a lot of like really big shit, and rigging and hoisting and welding.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stick welding in the field. That's pretty much all they do. I've kind of talked them into TIG welding a lot nowadays into the field, because we work on a lot of equipment indoors, and we can't have sparks going anywhere. So I've been talking them into TIG welding, and the reason TIG welding isn't really popular in our trade is because just no one knows about it, and
Yeah.
people don't have those skills. They kind of just
Well,
lean on MIG welding or stick welding.
yeah, it's slower, and that scares a lot of employers off, being like, "Well, we got to get things done fast, right?"
Right, right. So yeah, I made that transition, and by gaining skills through that job, uh, while simultaneously still practicing art, I got to where I'm at. And one day my mom was like, "Why don't you apply for these public art commissions?" And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "No, well, that sounds like it just sounds like so much work, and there's all this paperwork you have to jump through, and you have to format these pictures, and you have to, it's just a lot, and it is a bit of a process." But I made a sculpture, and I is still one of my favorite sculptures I've ever made. I made this giant hand. It's probably 8 feet long, 4 feet wide, and it's made. It was one of the first projects I made on CAD, and it suspends from this suspension plate up above it, and it's just a gigantic hand. But anyway, um, I was given an opportunity to do a show in a government building in downtown Vegas, and they said, your budget's $500. Show us what you got, and you know you
Good
have
luck.
you have the space for 6 months. Do what you want to do. And I had seen some other shows in the space, and I was like, man, they're not really taking advantage of the space. Anyways, long story short, I spent $5,000 of my own money. Because why? Because I had a job that I could sustain that type of, take that
Hmm.
type of hit. But that project, I owe pretty much all of my, or I wouldn't say all of my, it was a pivotal moment for me, because when I made that sculpture, it really like stopped everybody in their tracks, and they're like, oh, this dude's serious. and
Hmm.
uh, and then I eventually sold that to shop down, my friends over at Publicus. It's a coffee shop downtown. If anyone's ever in Vegas, go check out the hand and at Publicus. But I ended up making money off of that. I got more than my initial investment back, and it also gave me a tremendous amount of momentum. And then I was able to use that legitimacy that I also earned from that to get other public art programs or contracts, and
Hmm.
that's pretty much fast forward to where I'm at right now. So, and then
So
eventually
are
got.
you still a part of the elevators union then?
I am, man. I am. I work. I try. It's something that I've told myself that I'm gonna go as long as I can handle both, because I will tell everybody I don't have kids. I have a beautiful girlfriend that's supported me through the last 7 years and is patient with me because I spend 8 hours of my day doing elevator work. I'm now a service
Mm-hmm.
mechanic. All I do is just kind of go and troubleshoot and like chase calls and
Mm-hmm.
pull people out of elevators that get stuck. And after that, I pretty much come home and I start working on stuff. And I've accumulated tooling. Like I have a 14-foot press brake and 5x10 plasma table, and a slew of other tools. Welders and fixture tables and box brakes and power hammers and planishing hammers and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason I'm able to do that is because again that initial
You have that
sculpture.
full-time gig. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that too, but that initial sculpture gave me, again, that legitimacy to get those really
Mm-hmm.
big contracts where I could
Right.
be like, I could either pay someone to do all this cutting for me, or I could buy the machine and learn how to run it
Mm-hmm.
and then have the machine after the job's done. And that's how I got my plasma cutter. I got a really big contract with the city, and like I don't like to show off, so I'm not gonna say how much money the contract was, but I literally, Max, the amount of money that they gave me to do a piece of art was like it might as well have been an infinity sign, because I was like, I don't know what to do with this amount of money. And but I knew I could buy machines, so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna invest in myself and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna buy this machine. I literally had no idea what I was doing when I bought my plasma. I had made files. I was learning how to use like CAD software on YouTube, and
Mm-hmm.
I have kind of a machine mentor. I was originally found this guy on Google that was doing a lot of cutting for me on WaterJet, and he's like, "Oh, you should learn how to make your own files." So I learned how to use CAD. Oh, well, maybe you should buy a plasma machine. Oh, okay, and then I did, and so that I really give him a lot of credit to getting me where I'm at now, but but yeah, man, like it's been a wild ride, and I love learning and pushing myself. And a lot of people say that you can't really do new things in art, like pretty much everything's done with steel or whatever medium. But I always remind them that as long as people are developing new technologies, then that is another tool that an artist can use to create something completely new that no one's ever seen before. you know and that's kind of the direction that I like to go. Like right now, like I started using this app on my phone that I can use as a 3D scanner. And I could like, and this is for the car guys out there, like I could pull a bumper off a truck and scan, all the substructure of the front of a truck, and then put it into CAD and draw like a plate bumper, and
Mm-hmm.
then flatten that shape out and throw it on my plasma, and
Rip it
have
out.
a bumper
Yeah.
that fits. Where before what we were doing was templating and
Templates.
all
Yeah.
this bullshit. And so it's just like that type of stuff is exciting. And that example that I just mentioned is like a kind of like a normal way to use the technology. But then the other side of my head, I guess, is like, how can we make art out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Like like Frank was here the other day, and I scanned his face, because I was like, let me scan your freaky ass face. So maybe down the road I could, maybe we'll make your face or
Make a
something.
bust.
I could make like a 10-foot version of Frank's face if I wanted to right now, if I had
Yeah.
the money to go buy the material. So yeah, that's what really gets me excited and kind of keeps me going when it comes to art and fabrication and welding and all this metal industry stuff.
Well, and it's getting easier all the time. Like, if I go back, so I've had my side hustle forever. Like I'm a believer, and a lot of people don't agree with me, but I'm a believer that one job's not enough. Like I've had 2 to 3 jobs my entire life. I got this podcast, I got my radio show on Sundays, I got my full-time job running a $1 million company, and then I still got my side hustle out of my garage where I still got customers and I still pick up side work.
And you have
Because
kids.
and I have kids, but my kids are old because I started super young, so my kids are
Oh,
gone
okay.
now. But
All
like I
right.
mean, I got a wife that puts up with my madness because she'll be like, "So are you actually free tonight?" And
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah,
like, "Yeah, so I just gotta go drill out a couple holes tonight, and then that's all I gotta do." Or
yeah,
like I'm always in the state of like creation of something. The
yeah.
only thing is that I'm not artistic. My passion isn't like industrial stuff, as stupid as that sounds. I love organizing. I love like laying out plans. I love blueprints. I love all that stuff. When I started my first company 25 years ago, CAD was so complicated.
Yeah.
I remember like getting like an illegally cracked
Right.
AutoCAD from someone. Because let me
Right.
tell you, poor kids aren't buying AutoCAD, which is something that I love about open source everything now.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
in the past, man, it's like, oh, you want to learn AutoCAD? $3,000 for a computer program. Get
Right.
out of here. And then I got to go to school for 4 years and learn how to use it.
Yeah.
You know what? This is like just
Yeah.
the rich helping the rich, you
Yeah.
know? So it's not accessible. Now I can go online and get Fusion for free, Autodesk Fusion. You can
Mhm.
get Inventor on a school license for free, and it does 3D modeling, CAD CAM, and it does all your files, and
Mhm.
it's so easy to use. Like, man,
Yeah.
I when I was teaching at the college, we started a program called Innovative Manufacturing, where it was basically just the art of taking an existing process and making it better using technology.
Yeah.
So, you know, just
Yeah.
find something around you in your everyday life that you already use. You know, a mug, okay, my coffee mug. Now, how can we use this crazy? Because we had a 3D scanner, we had 3D printers, we have all this stuff. Now,
Mhm.
how can we make the mug better with today's technology, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So it was, so you know, it's so much more accessible with YouTube videos, people on the network, Instagram, people, the networks, the communities out there. The information's accessible. Even stuff like us, we're doing a podcast. Anyone can listen to this and get an idea about how to start their career. You know, maybe
Right.
they want to start something. Uh, you know, it's amazing how much technology makes things easier. I'm not going to say that it's easy. It's still there's still lots to learn. Even just okay, you buy a plasma machine. Man, I know the heartache of getting that thing to run properly when you first get it. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you're wrecking consumables. They're not cheap to replace. Draining
Yeah.
the tables, filling, cutting slabs, you know,
Yeah.
figuring out how you're gonna get slabs on. Oh, I'm gonna be smart. I'm gonna get magnets for that. And then you get stainless and you're out of luck. And it's like, okay, well now what do I do? You know, like this thing stainless weighs like a trillion tons. Like, you
Right.
know,
Yeah, yeah, all the resources because of the internet, just the fact that you and I can communicate from literally from two different countries, two different time zones, two different temperatures. um, it's pretty amazing, and yeah, and there's been a lot of people that have helped me, but a lot of it has just come from like doing research on the internet or watching YouTube videos.
mm-hmm.
I mean, my younger brother, because he got into we're into Volkswagens. He got into Volkswagens also, and he's like, dude, how did you ever work on anything without the internet? And I'm like, dude, Haynes manuals,
Haynes, yeah.
books, and it's just books, man.
I
Like,
I got
yeah,
a few of my Haynes right there, my 69
yeah,
Chevelle. Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, the world has, and it's, I feel really privileged to have like seen the world before the internet and have been a part of all that and been here during the transition, because now like I'm meeting people that like don't know what like pagers and like having to have quarters in your pocket to go like make a call, or just like being able to leave and like no one literally being able to get a hold of you,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's insane.
People talk about ghosting a party now. Man, you don't know what ghosting was unless you lived in the 90s. In the 90s, I could ghost your life. Like I won't see
Yeah,
you for 10 years. Like,
yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, you could send me a piece of mail to like maybe my last known address, but that's it, man. Yeah, you ain't finding
yeah, yeah, I'm gone. Like you'll
yeah.
hear a story about me from your uncle later, you know, like that's about it. So
Like, oh, he's still alive. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but it's interesting, in the internet, just like everybody knows, the internet's like this double-edged sword that is great in so many ways and like really terrible in so many other ways. But I tend to be optimistic and try to use it for good, and just there's so much good out there as far as learning and technology and just like all these connections. It's pretty
yeah,
bad, man.
I just had someone go off on me on the internet today on Instagram,
Oh,
and
really?
it doesn't bother me at all, like zero. Like, so I'm philosophically minded. I'm a political being, right?
Mhm.
So I know that for my work and my professional life, everybody wants me to like put up welding stuff and work stuff and stuff like that. But I can't buy into it all the way. I'm in pretty deep into social media, but I'm not in all the way. I have my life and my thoughts and my beliefs, and if I don't get 6 trillion followers, then so be it, whatever. But I put something up the other day and someone got choked and went on some big rant on my page being like, you represent the weld industry, you represent all this stuff, you should be doing this and you should be saying that and you shouldn't be spouting your own political beliefs. And then I was just like
That's all I have to say about that.
That's all. Like, you know what? You got your opinion. Like, I'm not gonna get into some discussion with you,
Right,
stranger, on the internet that I don't know. Like,
right.
what do you want me to get? You want me to defend my position against your
Yeah,
position? Like, I don't know you. Like, maybe you know what? You guys see where I'm traveling around. If I'm in your town, let's go for a beer and we can discuss it. And
right.
then, and I'll see if you're actually passionate about this or if you're just trolling. Because you know, like I get passionate and I like to talk, but you know what? I don't get mad because you know
Right.
what? At the end of the day, my life is my life and your life is your life. So whatever, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think just the internet and on the bad side of it, you get a lot of people with their opinions, and a lot of people like to really have their opinions, but they seem to forget that other people can have their own opinions as well, and they can be different than theirs. And that can lead into, and obviously, into politics,
yeah, yeah,
and going back and forth and on the internet. So yeah, I get that, but I tend to, as far as my social media, I'm not super good at it. I just want to ultimately, like, make people laugh, and if I'm making cool stuff, show cool stuff, and that's pretty much all I use it for. And get eyes on what I'm doing, so I can get on shows. I mean, it wasn't getting on the show, on the Metal Shop Master show. It was never like a thing that I wanted to do. It was never like, hey, one day I want to get on a Netflix show. And it just so happened, and it was because of social media. So it's helping. The internet helps get, get people to see what you're doing. If you're doing something interesting, then things come from that, and you get to meet cool people, and the world becomes a lot smaller.
yeah. You weren't at the front door of Netflix every morning being like, knock,
Let
knock,
me in.
knock. Hey,
Let me in. I got this
me.
idea. I got my friend Frank over here. Hey,
we
y'all
we
good?
make we make stuff.
Yeah, we make some weird man.
So
Oh,
like,
yeah.
when that happened, you get that call. What was your expectation? Like, I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, I mean, no one's calling me. No one really cares. People love the podcast for some reason, but aside from that, no one's coming to my house, right? It's like, okay, ring, ring, ring. Hey, Lou, I'm blah 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 from Netflix. You want to do a show? And you're like, fake call, prank
Yeah.
caller. Like,
The
how
first
did
thing,
that go down?
well, it was like um, Instagram message, and then, hey, someone's gonna call you, and it wasn't from Netflix yet, because this was like,
Like a
a
talent
production
company or
company.
something?
There was
Yeah.
a production company that had this idea, that threw the money at it and put it together, and that eventually, this is how I perceive how it works. I don't know for a fact, but they put it together and then eventually sold it to Netflix once Netflix saw it was good
That's
enough
good.
to put on Netflix. So so there was like, hey, do you want to be on a show? And I was like, hell no, I don't like being in front of cameras, and that sounds like really stressful. Like, that's just like, hey, make something out of nothing in front of us and be badass, like, entertain us, in a very little bit amount of time,
Yeah,
with
dance,
with
monkey dance.
yeah, with like tools that are, I mean, not to say that they didn't have decent tooling there, but with tools that I'm not used to, using, or like, not, I guess I should say, tools that weren't there. There was some stuff that I wish that was there, but anyway, yeah. And then it just escalated from there, and then they did the whole, like, once they did the, like, psychological test, I was like, oh man, these people are serious. They want to make sure I'm not, like, gonna lose it, or maybe they were trying to, like, gather a group of people that were, behaved a certain way, like,
Yeah,
maybe
there
they,
was probably a algorithm there, right?
right, they didn't want any, like, crazies, maybe this season. And if they do another season, maybe they'll be like, hey, let's turn up the crazy a little bit on the through the psychological analysis, and send us some hotter, some hotter heads or something. But
I just learned about this psychological test from Fred's interview, and I've interviewed a few of the people from the show. No one brought it up, so or sorry, from Frank, and Frank brought up the psychological test, and I was like, oh man, that's yeah. Then that things are getting serious. Like that's
yeah.
there's like an investment going on
No,
here.
Maxwell, I'll tell you when it was the most serious. Like, I mean, it was like weird, because then COVID hit, and there was this big lull, and we didn't even know if it was going to happen anymore. There was like no communications for months, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden they're like, okay, it's going to happen September. Here's the date. We need you to come. Here's your tickets. And when it really hit was I got picked up from LAX, and they took us to the hotel, dude. And we're at this. I was like, where are we staying? And they were like, the Intercontinental. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So I looked it up, and I've been to LA quite a bit, and it was like one of the tallest buildings in downtown LA, and it's like a badass building. It was like really nice, and the main lobby is on the 70th floor. So you go to like check in, and you're like literally looking over the entire city of LA. Like the Hollywood sign is to the right, and I was like, oh shit, this shit is serious, man. Like, and that's when it really started to set in. And yeah, it was a trip, man. I wouldn't change it though. I'm so glad I did it. My uncle actually talked me into it because I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this. This isn't what I want to do. Like I just want to do art. I don't want to be like on a reality show. You know, I don't want to be a TV personality. And he's like, dude, do not miss this opportunity, man. Like the exposure is gonna be so great for you. Just trust me. So I did it, and I definitely don't regret doing it. And I met some wonderful people, and now the country is a lot smaller, and yeah, and we're all still in touch and doing cool stuff together. So
Yeah, like I see the pictures of you and Frank, and you guys are, chilling out. And I heard about dune buggies and quads or something in
yeah,
the desert, and
oh
I
yeah.
and I and I asked, how the heck does a 69-year-old man keep up? And he said, not well.
Yeah, I was like, so Ivan came down a little bit before Frank. He stayed for a week, and it was a great week because he came down during SEMA. I don't know if you know what SEMA is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And there was just so much going on, but we did a bunch of stuff, and then Frank wanted to come down, and so I took him kind of on the same thing, but obviously SEMA wasn't going on, but I took him camping. I was like, you want to go camping? And he's like, yeah, I haven't been camping, man, and I can't even remember how long I haven't been camping, man. I love fire, man. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go have a fire, man. And it was kind of impromptu. I knew we were gonna go out to the desert, but I thought like he wasn't gonna be down to camp. And he's like, no, let's go camp. So just him and I went camping in this one of my favorite places, literally in the world. It's only about 45 minutes out of Vegas, and yeah, man, we had a good old time. But like, it was hilarious because I'm thinking like, damn, dude, I'm about to take this 70-year-old guy in a side by side at night, like balls out, like 60 miles an hour through the darkness, and he was like game for it, and he's like, he just loved it, man. He soaked it all up and took it like a champ. Everything I threw at him, dude, he was down. Like had a dirt bike, and he hopped on the dirt bike out in the sand and got his butt kicked, and eventually had to get in the car and drive because we were out in some deep sand. And it was a
Yeah,
pain
yeah.
on the bike, but yeah, man, that dude blows my mind, man. He really does. Like everyone on the show does in their own way, but Frank, he like, it's like, and he said it to me. He's like, it's weird that we're friends because like I'm old enough to be your dad, but we talk like we're just like
Bros. Yeah.
aged. So I don't know if maybe that just means he's really immature, or I'm more mature than him or something. I don't. But no,
Maybe
it's,
you guys just meet in the middle.
yeah, maybe we're just meeting in the middle. But now, but what I'm most impressed with is his work ethic, man. Like he wanted to build that Trojan horse that I helped him a little bit on, and I sent him the cut files, and he got them cut, and like he built that Trojan horse with just one other person, like in I think a 4-week period, like 3 or 4 hour days, and
Hmm.
this thing's like, if
It's
no
like
one's seen
20
it.
feet tall. Like it's huge.
Yes, yeah, I think it's like 15. And if no
Yeah.
one's seen it, check out Frank Ledbetter's Instagram account, and you'll see the big horse. And I'm thinking like, man, like I have friends that are like full blown artists that have been through, all the college in the world, and they've never even dreamed or will never even build anything like that in their entire life. And this dude just was like, come on, man, let's do this, man, let's get it done, man. And he just got it done.
Yeah, we
So
talked about that. Like he comes from an industrial background, which is my background too. And then he made this transition to art, but he's still got the industrial mentality of like step by step by step by step, organize it
mhm,
out and hammer it
mhm,
out and get it done, right?
yeah,
And I found that really inspirational because I feel like I'm not very artistic. We laugh about it on the show all the time when I interview artists. Like that's not me, man. But maybe it is. Maybe there's something in me. I mean, I was a
yeah.
musician. I still play music. That's
Oh yeah,
artsy,
see,
like.
Max, you actually said that earlier. You said I'm not artistic, and I hear that a lot. Especially, I don't know why it is. Maybe like people think that I'm an artist, so they compare themselves to me or something. And I'm not saying this is what you did, but I hear that a lot. And I don't know. My point is I don't know if I'm bringing that out in them, but I'm like, dude, like, and you just said you're like a musician, like that's art. And
Mm-hmm.
there's probably a lot of things that you do in the welding world that, or just in metalwork that I would consider art. Like I go to SEMA, I tell like my art friends, I'm like, you should go to SEMA because the people there that are working on cars, they understand design and they understand shape. And not only do
Mm-hmm.
they understand all the concepts of design and color theory, but they can execute the and they execute it to like an insane level. So I appreciate I appreciate creativity. So like, yeah, man, I wouldn't say that you're not an artist. I know I'm just meeting you and I hadn't seen what you've done, but I can guarantee you that there's stuff that you do that is extremely artistic, man.
I feel, see, and like, I mean, it's just where your passion lies. I've worked on awesome, huge projects, industrial projects, and, hundreds of pages deep of blueprints, 30, 40,000 parts, we got 1,000 guys working on it. These massive structures go up. And to me, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Watching that happen,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
beautiful, right? And it's just where your loves lie. I remember when I first started working with fiberglass with cars. I was like, I was a metal worker. I've been working with metals. I worked on roll cages. I built stuff for cars, like the typical car stuff you do for people. And then
Mhm.
someone was like, "Hey, I want to put these speakers in that door," and it's like, "Well, they don't fit. Well, can you make it fit?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then my first thought was like, "I'll make door panels out of steel." Well, that's dumb. That's way
Yeah,
too
yeah,
heavy.
yeah, yeah.
You can't do
You
that.
sound like me.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna do that, and then it's like, okay, well, what else? Well, normally, and this is like great when Pimp My Ride and all that stuff was happening too. Like that's literally when I had my shop. I was like, well, they're doing everything in fiberglass there. How hard can it be? Went to like the local hardware store, bought like a couple meters square of fiberglass resin, made a
Yeah.
simple wire frame, laid it over top, poured it out, hit it with a heat gun. I was like, that's it. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
that
yeah.
hard. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like,
It moves a lot easier than metal, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah. I
But
mean,
going back
and then
to
the rest is all Bondo.
yeah. And then you just sand the stuff down. But
Yeah.
and here's something that you've done that I consider probably the most artistic thing that a human can do, and is create a child and raise that child, man. Because that's literally like that's the purest creation that I think that we're able to do. And so you know what I mean. I think if you can raise a halfway decent human being, I think you deserve to be called an artist and
Well, I
in
guess
some.
you need to meet my kids first, and then we'll decide.
You suck at art, Max.
Yeah, you
You suck
suck.
at art. No more, man. No more.
I'm fixed. I'm good. There's no more. There ain't no more art coming out of me.
Oh man. So yeah,
So,
man.
so now, Lou, what's the game plan? Like you want to get the art side of the business to be the full-time gig? Is that the
Yeah.
dream, or do
So
you
like
like running both back and forth, maybe forever? What do you think?
um well, I'm comfortable, and that's dangerous, right? When you've got a
Mm-hmm.
good job, you don't have to struggle. You can bypass jobs. You don't have to take stuff on that you don't want to. But in the meantime, I'm giving 40 hours of my week away to a company. The company's been really good to me. But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, my goals are to buy my own warehouse or to build my own house with like a really nice shop out back, and then that'll get me to the point where I'll be able to probably get out of being an elevator guy, because a lot of artists are like, oh, I'm not going to have a job, blah blah blah. Well, there's this little thing called credit in the United States that can get you a lot of places. And speaking from experience, like I've had my art business for a while, and if you don't have a lucrative financial history in your small business, like no one's going to lend you money and get you a loan to buy like $1 million building. Because I don't know about where you're at, but like everything in Vegas is like, it seems like $1 million is where everything starts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm kind of, the goal is to continue getting contracts, which I am working on those contracts simultaneously with working my day job, while working towards the goal of buying either land or a shop that I can finally maybe put down the elevator gig and just focus full time. So
Yeah, and I think it's doable, man. Like when you finally decide to set aside the elevator gig, I'll guarantee you it'll be hard and riddled with anxiety, but but you'll climb out of it like everyone else that decides to make the leap in whatever they do, because it's really the work ethic that pulls you out of any hole you dig. So I
Yeah.
mean, it takes a shovel to dig, but it takes a shovel to dig it back, right? So
Right.
you just gotta figure that out. I'm sure you will. Like, I mean, I don't think anything has stopped you up to this point.
No, no, I know I can do it, man. But I got to be honest with everyone is, there's a lot of fear involved too, and I don't even have
Absolutely, yeah.
kids, man. Like you took the plunge and you had kids, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man, it was a tough time. Let me tell you, I became very a big proponent of mental health, and for
Yeah,
people to go to a psychologist on a regular, like an oil change. And I
yeah,
tell that to especially to entrepreneurs that I run into, like
yeah,
young business owners. You know what? If you work for the man, you got your company, you got your steady Eddie.
yeah.
There's not a lot of stress with that. There can be, but mostly you create it yourself.
Right.
Um, but when you go into business for yourself, and like, I mean, I got divorced. I got, everything that could happen. I lost my business, lost my wife. There's
Mm.
all these things that happen. All these things are risks that you take when you start a business, because man, you don't go from working 40 hours a week. You start your own business, you're looking at
Oh yeah,
whatever it takes. It's not
yeah,
even a number. Like, it's just like whatever it takes to get food on the table. And if you're up for 24 hours straight, then so be it.
right.
Um, it does level out though. Like, I mean, as you get more people, you market. Like, I mean, it's life. You get up ahead. Once you're ahead of the game, then you ride the wave. And if you can
Yeah,
get that momentum and start riding that wave, then it's not ever going to be as hard as it was in the start. But
right,
that
right, right.
start is hard, right? And
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
in Canada, we have this program called the Futurepreneur Program that's sponsored by the government, where they actually pair people up as mentors. So I'm a mentor on there now, and I'll get young, and I put my specialty is welding. So I'll get
Hmm.
like paired up with like a young welder who wants to start a business, and
Yeah,
we don't know each other, but we get paired up, and they get to like bounce ideas off me, and I get to
yeah.
be like, no, that's stupid, don't do that,
You're crazy, man.
or they're like, well, I don't have a software for doing my taxes yet, but I think I'm gonna start my business. It's like, no, 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 don't make that mistake. You make
Yeah,
sure you learn how to do your taxes
yeah,
first, or set money aside to get your taxes done, because that's not
right.
a game you want to play, man.
Yeah,
Like,
that'll come back to bite you for sure. Yeah, and I think that's a great, like I'm not one to give a lot of advice out, but if there are artists or people that are like looking or have a passion and have a day job, like I think I've really it's really paid off to be patient and in transition because I'm able to learn all of the stuff that you just said while
mhm,
still maintaining, like a full-time job. So I have that security there and I can make mistakes in that business and they don't hurt me in a way where it would hurt me if I didn't have that job.
mhm.
So I realize the value there, and I'm really grateful that my job has let me like, okay, I'm gonna go do a TV thing for 2 weeks. You guys good with that? Like, hell yeah, man, go do your thing, come back, whatever. So I'm pretty fortunate, man. But yeah, my trajectory right now is heading into like traveling, doing jobs out of state, continuing to figure out the technology and how I can use it and make cooler things and it doesn't have to be out of metal, but metal is just what I'm tooled up to do right now. And yeah, I think there's I have a ton more to learn. So it
and
keeps me
you
excited.
and you like camping, right? So I gotta ask you a question. You got a passport?
Yeah, man. Of course I do.
Well, I spend my whole summer camping, man. My
Yeah.
job is a remote job. I can technically work off my computer. So I spend like a lot of my summer up in the woods here in Canada, which is some of the most beautiful areas in the world. So if
Yeah.
you ever want to come out up north here camping in the summer, you let me
Yeah.
know. I got all the levels. We can do either like the backpack camping, like out in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere, or I got a trailer. We can take a trailer. I got a tent. Or if we want to go fancy, I can take out my boat. We can go somewhere. We can go rip around lakes. You just let
Nice.
me know any time in the summer we can book
Oh, dude,
something up.
I'm definitely gonna take you up on that, and I'm gonna try to bring Uncle Frank with us because that
Oh man, that'd be so awesome. Oh
maybe
man,
we
that'd be
maybe
so
we can get
awesome.
Uncle Frank to do some mushrooms. No, 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 I'm just
Yeah, I
kidding.
know. Let's do it. And then
I
yeah,
don't.
I'll
I,
take you
w-
out in
I
my
wouldn't.
Mustang.
I wouldn't push that on him, but we talk about stuff like that, man. Because I'm into shrooms every once in a while, and I tell him I'm like, yeah, well, maybe you should try mushrooms today. But it's like I feel weird like telling a 7-year-old guy like like, maybe you should check in with your doctor before you do that. Actually, just see
It's
like
like a
what that.
Viagra pill. Like, if you can
Yeah,
take a
like I don't.
Viagra, this should be okay.
Yeah, the last thing is I want you to have like an issue while we're shrooming or something. But no, I love camping. I love the outdoors, man. And I've seen pictures of Canada, and like we were saying, like Banff and I mean, pretty much anywhere I've seen in Canada has been beautiful. So yeah, I love the outdoors, and that's where a lot of the inspiration comes from. And yeah, I'll definitely take you up on that.
Yeah,
But I'm
well,
not
we'll
coming up
talk,
there
man.
when it's snowing, man. I'm not coming up there when it's snowing. I can't handle that,
No, I'm
man.
not gonna do that to you. I'm not gonna do that to you. I don't even want to hear the complaining. I don't want to put up with it. So,
Yeah, yeah. I
all
mean,
right,
it
man.
hits like
Well,
30, dude, and it kills me. But yeah,
yeah.
well, right on, brother.
All right. Well, we're hitting up on the end of the show here. I want to ask you, and I know you just said you literally like 5 minutes ago, we're like, I don't like to give advice, but I'm going to ask you to give some advice. All right. Let's pinpoint this to your situation. Let's say you come across a young Latino in your travels, and he's like 15, 16. He came over from Mexico at a young age, and he's looking to get into art, but he's unsure. He's unsure about going down the art path. He doesn't feel like he has a lot of support and might not be great, but he's really passionate about being an artist. What piece of advice would you give this young man?
Oh man, that's a hard one, Max.
I don't make him easy.
What piece of advice would I give? I mean, wash
Mm.
your hands, bro. I don't know, man. uh, no, it's okay. It's not that hard. And you said, and he wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
That's who would want to be an artist. I would just say to be themselves, man. I think a lot of people get lost trying to be people that they're not, and that will always shine through their art. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like studio art. It could be like if you're a car builder, like if you're not yourself, then your work is not going to be it's not
Authentic.
it's not going to be authentic. So and that being yourself thing, like it permeates everything else in life, like. And I think that's how you ultimately you're happy, is by being yourself and not by trying to be someone else, and like listening to your intuition and all those things that come along with accepting who you are and your story and your path and all that. So yeah, I'd say just be yourself and wash your hands.
Yeah, and wash your hands. It's very important. All right, Lou. Well, I've had a blast here, man, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. And my staff will get in touch with you after the show, let you know what the schedule is for the rollout and all that stuff.
Mhm.
I think we're gonna send you a little swag bag too, some stickers
All
and
right.
stuff. And
Well, hey
but
man,
it's been a
I
blast.
appreciate you having me on. Like I said, this is my first one, so thank you so much for bringing me on. And I hope I outdid Frank, because I know you just did Frank right before me. So Frank, if you're listening, whatever, man.
Well, he said that it was gonna be a hard act to follow, so I'm not gonna
Yeah,
judge.
yeah, I'm sure he did. But okay, well, I thank you. Thanks again, my man.
All right, and for all the listeners that have been following the show, man, thanks so much for making the show the success it is. I couldn't do it without all you people sharing and downloading and listening to basically people just talk. That's all we do on here is just talk and tell stories. So I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys keep it up, and I'll see you at the next show. So take care, everybody.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to the CWB Association Welding Podcast with Max Ceron. If you enjoyed what you heard today, rate our podcast and visit us at cwbassociation.org to learn more. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions or suggestions on what you'd like to learn about in the future. Produced by the CWB Group and presented by Max Ceron. This podcast serves to educate and connect the welding community. Please subscribe, and thank you for listening.